right, guys, welcome back to the Walleye Files. I appreciate y'all being here. I hope this finds you well. The National Walleye Tour Championship is over, and Tom Wynn, man, back-to-back, friend of the show. Obviously, he's been on a couple times. Hopefully, we can have him on again because what some dominance. 43 pounds day one, just shy of 39 pounds day two, just edges out Isaac Lockridge by about 10 ounces. What an insane ending to a great tournament. We put that video out. There's a little bit of controversy. We talked about it before. Just make sure we're respecting the sport, respecting the people who are in the event and run the event alike. I really appreciate all the feedback. Most of it's been positive too. A lot of opinions, and that's good. And there's some things that are relatively constructive, and that's a good thing. I think if we're being constructive, there's nothing wrong with giving your opinions if they're strong or not. This week on the Walleye Files, we've got Mr. Daniel Harper back for a tackle talk. Super happy to have Dan here talking fall fishing tactics for walleyes. We're going to go into a couple different tactics for fall walleyes, between myself here and Dan over on Lake Erie, and stuff we can use all over the country, really. So that'll be really great. And man, just life is good. Hopefully life is good for you guys. Things have been busy. When you guys are seeing this, I'm going to be about a week away from going to Newfoundland for a moose hunt. When I'm gone, I'm sure you'll see some. You'll probably see some content from that, and you'll also see some episodes of the Walleye Files Unhooked. I've got a couple episodes of the Walleye Files Unhooked kind of in my back pocket, ready to go. So to provide some content while I'm gone, we're going to throw those out there, and we've got some great anglers coming up. And again, hopefully we have Tom on. He's about to be the busiest man in fishing, so when he has some time, we're going to get him on and talk about that championship. Without further ado, Fall Walleyes with Mr. Dan Harper. Thanks, guys, for watching. This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Lake Effect Lures, the tackle that turns every cast into a catch. Built for serious anglers, tested on real fish, and proven to get bites when nothing else will. Get yours at lakeeffectlures.com. Daniel Harper, how are you doing, my friend?
What's up, young man? How are you?
Oh, buddy, I'm good. It's good to see you. I'm super excited to talk some fishing.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so we can jump right into it. We're going to talk fall tactics today. And I think we each got 4 baits, right?
Yes, sir.
That's what I got 4. And guys, these are pretty universal. You don't have to be on Lake Erie or Green Bay to use these baits. They are going to work darn near everywhere you go. And I'm going to start it off with what we call Old Faithful here, with just a Moon Eye and that is a Lake Effect Lures Feisty Fry. It's a 4-inch Feisty Fry. I like that bigger profile, that little longer profile. The Feisty Fry comes in a 3 or a 4-inch. But in general, that minnow style, split tail, sleek kind of, I really like this kind of a shaddy kind of color. Maybe more of a shiner color in the fall. But I really like this bait. Especially, in Wisconsin, our rivers, like the Fox River, for instance, these fish start moving back into the Fox. We get a lot of males down there and some of those smaller females. And you've experienced that bite with me where they really group up towards the dam and, kind of a pre-spawning time ritual. They come down in the fall and really gorge themselves on shad and shiners. And that, this bait right here is darn near identical to what we caught them on a couple of years ago. You're catching 40 to 50 fish in a day sometimes.
Absolutely.
So what do you got for me, buddy?
Back you off with the plastic. So same thing, going with the plastic. Most of the baits that I'm going to talk about today, they're just higher action baits. These coming at the end of the summer period when it's kind of tough and slower, they start transitioning to the fall. It seems that they just want to put the feed bag on, so you can kind of throw whatever you want. So starting with the plastic here for me, this is one that's usually always tied on a rod. It's a 3/8 ounce VMC tungsten red line jig with the yellow white mooch minnow. It's really hard to go away from something like this. It mimics shad, mimics perch, does a bunch of different things. You can fish it fast, you can fish it suspended. In the rock, it kind of gives you a bunch of different options. It's just a really good one of those starting points that I always have tied on a rod. Kind of going with that jig head, just basic, just a jig. Get the right size here. Just a jig and a crawler. It's obviously you have to have a jig and a crawler set up. So just another tungsten red line head. One thing I've been finding with helping to keep the crawlers on a little bit, here when I'm off on suspended fish, just kind of adding the removable stinger to that presentation, sticking one prick in the back of the crawler. This kind of gives you a little bit more durability as you're casting out there to 60, 70, 80 foot, let it sink down 40 feet. Kind of just keeps that presentation together for you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm going to start. We're going to go next with, we've talked about hair jigs before, right? But what I like to do in the fall is I like to, and this is a Mr. Dan Harper tied hair jig. So, this one's extra special. But I actually like to add some chunk to the back of that thing. You're going to get a little more action, high action. So I actually put a 2 1/4 inch Lake Effect Lures mini paddle on the back of this thing. You get some really good extra action out of that. Nice and durable bait. I keep the stinger on still. The stinger's not really going to hang your bait up too much. But overall, like Dan said, that high action, these fish are putting the feed bag on for a reason. They're transitioning to a point where they're not going to eat as much in the wintertime, so they're really trying to fatten up in the fall. And that's why I add something similar to a trailer on the back of my hair jigs in the fall.
Yeah, and to your point of adding that on, it gives you a little bit different action, but it also you can play with your fall rates by the type of whatever you're putting on there. You can slow the fall, you can speed the fall, kind of let you change throughout those fish throughout the day without really having to change your base presentation of that hair jig. That's a really good call.
Yeah, absolutely. This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Thunderhook Fly-Ins, the premium fly-in fishing destination in Ontario, Canada. Trophy walleyes, giant pike, and remote wilderness adventures await. Book your trip now at thunderhook.com.
So speaking of fish that are just on the feed, like once we're coming up here soon into middle end of September into early October, they just start putting the feed on hard. Obviously, we're talking about it. So one of my favorite baits that usually is always also tied on a rod is going to be an Acme Hyper Rattle. I usually stick with the size 3 on Lake Erie. You could play with different sizes, but this is all I really go with. I have 2 general thoughts. So I usually run natural colors without bladed trebles, and then some like perchy colors, this or the perch color without a bladed treble, or just something with a little silver shine on it with a bladed treble. I found over the last few weeks here that adding that bladed treble allows you to fish this bait a different couple ways. You can fish them on suspended fish and kind of swim it a little bit more than you have to off the bottom. So with that minnow style or those colors, adding that bladed treble will definitely get you a lot of bites. You can really slow it down. You don't have to fish as aggressive. And they'll really move 10, 20 feet to come chase this down. The watercolor is the right color for you. And as far as fish near the bottom that might be on perch or in shallow, kind of go with like a perchy color. This white glow is always a good one. Yoda, there's a couple other colors that are really good. But as far as starting off with I like to fish fast, it's really hard to beat a Hyper Rattle.
Yeah, I think if you're going to fish fast, that might be the bait in your presentation that you want to pick, just because it's going to get right to the point. We've talked about it on the pod before here. It gets to the point. It gets to the fish as fast as any other bait on the market. It makes them make that decision. And more than anything, you get a lot of hookups on it still too, even though, it's a small compact bait and it's a lot of tungsten, but it still hooks up with a really good amount of fish.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great starting point.
We're going to transition to trolling. Not something we do a lot of anymore, but in the fall, it's kind of a good deal, man. Mine's just a flicker minnow. This is a number 5 in the lower part of Green Bay. I like number 5s and number 7s, but you can certainly upsize to a 9 or an 11. I'm going to be targeting shallow rock in the lower portion of the Green Bay or where these fish are kind of staging outside of. But if you've got deep transitional breaks, these fish a lot of times, especially on the Great Lakes, they're going to be chasing bait out deep. 80 to 100 feet of water is not crazy to know that these fish are chasing bait over the top of. But as the days move on, as things get colder, that bait's going to start sliding inward. Those fish are going to follow them. That 20 to 30 foot break edge, especially in Door County, Beta Knock, Lake Erie, especially, the 20 to 30 foot edge where you're, above that 20-foot edge, it's going to get high. Past that 30-foot break, it's going to dump off to 50, 60, 70 feet of water. That break is where a lot of these fish are going to hang out on. And it's the same here, Lake Erie, Lake Huron, Lake Sakakawea, the Missouri River system. It's all very similar. But again, a flicker minnow is a great choice. I did well in a national walleye tour event on Sakakawea back, in 2020. Same thing. I was running number 9 flicker minnows in 30 to 50 feet of water. First week of September, second week of September maybe. But principle is the same. Deep edges, flicker minnows, can't beat it.
Great call, especially coming up with the fall. The next one I got is going to be more. I'm a glide bait nut. I love fishing glide baits. It's just a really fun way that I really enjoy fishing. So coming off of that hyper rattle, sometimes there is a time and place when that bait is too much, or they won't commit hard to it. So the next couple are just going to be kind of adjustments off of that idea. Very similar idea, very similar baits, right? So we got a moonshine shiver minnow, number 3. There's still a 1 ounce bait. It's got a little bit different, softer glide. It's not as aggressive as the hyper rattle. And then from there, also lists like a number 9 jig wrap. But again, this is a 7/8 ounce bait. But they're just a couple different ideas that you can make adjustments off of that initial idea of fishing fast, kind of power fishing these walleyes when they're really getting after bait. And just a couple adjustments that you might have to make to kind of help them seal the deal. There are days when the hyper rattle can be a touch too much, so switching to a shiver minnow, same weight, just falls a little slower. It's not as aggressive on the jerks. Can really help just kind of seal the deal, get you more bites.
Yeah, and I think one thing you don't want to discount is bigger isn't always better. I think you can definitely size down to like a number 7 jig and wrap, especially on those cold mornings where those fish are just kind of a bit lethargic to start the day. I really like that number 7 because it falls just a hair slower. It's going to react just a hair slower than the bigger sizes.
I agree 100%.
Awesome. Well, my last bait, guys, and I've talked about it before, it's a great bait in the springtime, but it's also a great bait in the fall. And this one's a thin fisher. It's a beautiful blade bait. And I like this one in particular in the fall because it is very similar to a shad styled bait. It's kind of got that shad body look. And we have a lot of shad that, spawn in the springtime and they jump it or they move down into the rivers in the fall. And that's what these walleyes are feeding on. Especially in the Fox River where I'm accustomed to fishing in the fall. This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Striker Brands, built to keep you warm, dry, and fishing longer. From ice to open water, their gear handles whatever Mother Nature throws at you. Find yours at strikerbrands.com. Go early, go late, and go prepared.
Yeah, blade bait's always a solid option up there. As far as last one for me, coming into this time of year in September, going into October, November, early December, I didn't always have a boat. So short casting was kind of my way to get into the game, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And kind of casting at those fish as they come into the rocks in the evening. It's just kind of an awesome way to get into the game. And it's not really an expensive way to get in the game. So to that point, just kind of like throw in shallow running cranks. So this is an HJ14 in Old Faithful, blue, silver, right? Orange. If you don't have a bunch of these, you need to. That color always gets bit. And then just kind of from there, you can kind of go up and down. A P10 is probably my favorite bait. There are nights when the Husky will outproduce the P10, just kind of rolls a little different. It's got a little different knocker in it. The cool thing about this, casting bite from shore or just casting cranks overall in the fall, you can go, up where you're at. You can throw a little flicker shads. You can go up to an F18 or musky baits. We've caught them on pretty much a 2-inch bait to like a 14-inch bait. You can kind of play around with it and have a lot of fun. It's not something where you need a boat and a live scope and all this, stuff to get out there and get after it. You can really enjoy the fall bite as they come in shallow. Put the feed on. Just spend a little bit of time finding out kind of what the right wind is on your rocks, where some bait is at, and just go out and catch a pile of fish. Usually they're going to be really receptive. They're usually going to rip the rod out of your hand, and they're usually pretty decent fish. So it's just a fun way to kind of get into that, or enjoy that fall bite.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think, fall can be a super underrated time to fish. I don't fish a lot in the fall. I sit in a tree stand a lot. But I think this fall I'm going to make a trip over by you. Speaking of trip by you, let's talk about the Brawl real quick, buddy.
Yeah, so we got here in Ohio on Lake Erie, we have two big fall, early winter tournaments. Everybody probably knows about them. The Walleye Slam, presented by Erie Marine and Erie Outfitters, and then the Fall Brawl that Jason puts on. The dates are 10/18 through 11/30. It's a 6-week long derb. They're $40 to sign up for each derb, so it's a total of $80. You can win. It's a Warrior 238 and a Ranger 622 in each respective tournament. You can also win both if you happen to catch that one. I think the Walleye Slam does a Toyota truck for second place. So it's just a really cool time to get guys out and get enjoyed and catching big fish. Kind of put a little tournament aspect to just the average guy. It's a really good entry point. The cool thing, like with the Walleye Slam, is they'll do like random place payouts. So you could have a fish that weighs 7 pounds and you could be in like 4,000 to 300th place, and you could still win like a set of bibs. So they do some different kind of cool things like that. And it's just a fun way to get away in the game. And you don't need a boat. My buddy Kyle, we call him Kmart, took like 5th in the Slam of the Brawl off my dock while I should have been down there, but I was babysitting another buddy up here. And I got the phone call with the 31-incher on my dock. So you don't need to, you don't feel like you have to have a boat. I think last year in the Slam and the Brawl, I think 2nd, 3rd, and 5th and 6th all came from shore, which I think was the best year yet for that. I could be wrong, but it was a really good year regardless. Guys were catching 10 to 12 pounders from the shore, and then obviously catching big ones off the boats too. So everybody's got a fair shot to win it. It's not a really bad entry point. It's just a lot of fun and kind of something cool to end out the year with.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to get over there, have a couple cocktails, fish off the dock a little bit, fish off the boat, do some scoping, do a little trolling. Just get away for a week, catch a pile of walleyes, obviously bring a few home for a fish fry with the Walleye Files. Friday night fish seasoning, guys. Buy yourself some so this podcast can keep rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the only thing I just want to add to the end of that, not to cut you off there, is just if you guys are in the area, I live in Sheffield Lake, so west side of Cleveland. If you guys are in the area, you need tackle, you need a tip, you need somewhere to start, where to fish, are kind of going at, just stop in Area Outfitters, talk to Craig or Mike. They'll definitely point you in the right direction. They're not going to steer you wrong. They got all the baits, rods, nets, everything else you need. Crawlers. It's a great one-stop shop. It's a good starting point. It's kind of right in the middle of the lake, so if you want to go east or west, it's kind of right there for you. But yeah, if you guys are around, just make sure you stop in and check them out.
Yeah, they do a great job. I bought a lot of baits from that place. It doesn't take much.
When we were going to Dunkirk, I think everybody that went to Dunkirk that lived west of Dunkirk stopped at Craig's. I think for 3 days before I left, everybody was coming through and getting stuff. So yeah, everybody else loves it. But if you guys are in it, it's a great place to get started.
Yeah, Craig's a great guy. They run a great business, and they have everything. Every custom color you could ever imagine, every bait, every presentation, they will have it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. Well, brother, I appreciate you for being on. Thanks for breaking down some fall presentations with me. We're going to have another, probably a couple more pods here pretty soon with some modifications for tackle, maybe some apparel. We'll talk about fall into winter apparel that we're going to use, and a bunch of other things. Guys, if you have things that you want to see from the Walleye Files, make sure you message me or comment on this podcast. We appreciate you for watching. Thanks, buddy, for being on.
Have a good night, brother.